All right, welcome back to another podcast, guys. It's been a while, but I'm glad I got a good guest on for today. So we got Matt Hanso here. He's obviously run pretty well in the NCAA recently, and yeah, I thought I'd get you to introduce yourself a bit before we get into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I guess yeah. So as you said, my name's Matthew Hanson. I'm from Brisbane, so yeah, bit up north from where you are, but yeah, I've been running for like 5 years now. Yeah, started in soccer as a lot of people did, and yeah, no, I guess was fairly good in high school. Probably wasn't like, I wasn't groundbreaking. I wasn't like an Archie Noakes or a Logan Janeski or some of those really good blokes who yeah, end up going to huge schools in the US. But I was fortunate enough to, yeah, still get a scholarship to go over there. And I'm 18 months in at the moment. So yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, I recently just, yeah, kind of took off a little bit. Some huge personal bests over pretty much every distance. And a lot of it, as I'm sure we'll get into, is due to this kind of different system I've been doing, training wise, slightly different approach, and it's yeah really paid dividends in terms of just yeah overall enjoyment of running, and then also performance wise as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's been pretty cool to see your progression because I've been, I guess, watching some of your YouTube videos back then when you made some with Adam Fogg, which is how I
Yeah,
found out about you. And then, yeah, I've seen you progress onto the NCAA, and obviously that's working very well for you. So I definitely want to pick your brains on that as well. You've done some really good times in a few different events. I guess mainly the 3K and 5K. I don't know if you would
yeah,
agree, but what would you say your best event is? Because right now you have PBs of 8:17 in the 3K and then I think 14:10 in the 5K.
yeah. I also dipped into I ran 347 in the 1500 as well, which yeah, I guess that kind of gets into answering the question. I don't really know at the moment. I always kind of thought I was a longer distance guy. Like in high school, I never really competed well over anything less than a 3K, but I guess more recently, especially this last kind of track season, yeah, I competed really well with 1500, and so I'm kind of in a weird spot where hopefully I'm a jack of all trades until I kind of specify. But yeah, I've always been really strong at cross country, and I guess more recently I've been strong at the 1500. So it doesn't really answer your question, but I
Yeah.
I, I guess my favorite event's probably the 5K. I think it's a good mix of speed and endurance, and I think it's the most painful event in track, and the more painful the event, usually the better I do. I think so. Yeah, no, I'd say 5K.
Yeah, nice. I think I do agree with you in the sense that you come from like a bit more of a strength background, just because you're kind of known for being a high mileage guy since quite
Yeah,
young, because not many people back then at your age were running that sort of mileage, and still now, to be fair. So, yeah,
yeah.
can you talk a bit about what your training was like when you were in high school and yeah, what sort of mileage were you hitting?
Yeah, so I guess like it goes kind of back to like the soccer stuff. So I have always been very obsessive, I guess with training and just trying to do everything I can to be as good as I can be in whatever I do. So I guess it started with soccer, and I obviously with a sport like that you can train twice a day and be pretty okay with it. Recover well, all that kind of stuff, eat well, and you should be fine. And when I started running, I kind of took that same approach. I didn't really know much about it. So I was like, okay, well, if I want to get better at running, I say run more. So I was really pretty much as soon as I started running, I was double running. And I guess from then, like I was probably 14, 15, and I was doing about 100, 120K a week, which is quite a lot of running. I didn't really know much better, but yeah, so I was doing that. And then I was training with border striders, Brian Chapman in Brisbane. And anyone who's kind of gone through that system would know that, yeah, his sessions is like, an hour of interval running, and they're pretty high intensity, a lot of volume as well. So, and I at first had a lot of success off that program. Obviously, my first nationals in 2019, I came fifth in the 3K. And then at national cross country, I came fourth that year. But I was third Queenslander, and I'd actually won states a few months before that. So I was pretty disappointed with that result, which is funny. That was my first ever nationals. But so I had a lot of success early by doing like with that system with obviously Brian, Chapman, and border striders, and obviously a lot of volume as well for my age. And that kind of it progressed from there, because obviously it's like you get a taste for success, and then you just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep on ramping and ramping. Where obviously now I know that's not the case. But back then I got very kind of caught up in it. I also ran when I was 14, 15, 12 for a 5K. So I was like really up there, I guess, in Australia and then maybe even or like worldwide as well. And yeah, from there I kind of went up to like 130, 140, and then that progressed to 150, 160, and then the results were stagnating. I wasn't getting any better. I wasn't getting any worse though, which was very fortunate. I never got injured. But I had bouts of like, yeah, obviously I was overtraining. So some pretty rough like months and races. And then I had a bit of anemia, that kind of stuff. But, it wasn't all bad. I still won a few state cross country championships. I was still kind of consistently finishing top 4, top 5 at states on the track. But yeah, obviously as well, everyone kind of caught up and went past me. And yeah, I guess I was doing that until about year 11, where I was like, all right, well, something's got to change because I'm not running very well. That's when I went to a more traditional model where I was doing 3 sessions a week instead of 2, lowered the volume, up the intensity, and I responded really well to that. And I guess I came out of high school with PBs of 8:30 in the 3K, 14:47 in the 5K, and I finished 10th at national cross country under 20s as an underage. So I think I was like 4th in my age group. So I did bring it back by the end of like kind of my high school, but career. But yeah, definitely there was a few years in there where I was training absolute house down, and looking back on it, it was yeah, I'm glad I came out of it kind of unscathed to the point now where yeah, maybe it has set me up to a point now where I can just handle training. Like I don't get injured, touch wood. I've never had a running injury. And now that I've kind of got all this kind of learnings from that, I know, when to back off, when to push. Like I'm very in tune with my body, maybe more so than a lot of people my age. But yeah, it was definitely a very controversial and interesting time. I think, yeah, a lot of coaches kind of knew what I was doing and was like, yeah, no, like this kid is gonna cook himself. He's gonna burn out, and I definitely did, but I brought it back from the dead. So
Yeah, it's good. Not many people have done the mileage that you've done so far at your age. So you're kind of reaping the rewards of that right now because you have such a huge base already at a young
potentially
age, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I know you were also part of the Bird Squad, which is the obviously Brisbane Elite Running Squad. Is that what
run
it stands for?
Brisbane Elite run training.
Oh, sorry, yeah. When did that come into the timeline
Yeah.
of your running?
So after nationals cross country in 2019, I then ran the week after 15-12. I then got really anemic. Like I was really bad. Like I was super tired all the time, fatigued. I had doctors because I feel like there's almost this stereotype with guys, especially with like anemia and stuff, that like guys don't get anemic kind of thing. And I was trying to tell doctors like, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm training this much, and like I'm super tired. It took me months to get a blood test. Like they wouldn't even let me like get a blood test. And then my GP was saying like, no, you're just tired. And then my ferritin came back as 4, which is the healthy range is like 30 to 150.
Right. Yeah,
So I
wow.
was like really anemic.
Yeah.
So when that happened, I kind of looked at everything and I instantly went to Brian, like broader striders. I was like, okay, well, I'm doing hour interval sessions. I can't do that and mileage. Like it has to be one or the other kind of thing. Because the other guys I was training with were only doing like, 60, 70, 80K a week, maybe less. So that's when I had been in contact with Peter Bracken, who is the co-founder of Vert Squad, and his like their training philosophy was very kind of old school, kind of Australian, like 20-minute fartleks. So your deeks, your monitors, they would do like 6x1K, like those kind of sessions. And I guess yeah, that and the fact that they had Adam Fogg training with them, Kieran Perkins, Jude Thomas at the time as well was coming down from Ipswich for quite a few sessions. And as a 14, 15-year-old, like that's these are the guys I look up to, and that was really cool being able to train with them. So that's when I kind of went over there. I still wasn't coached by Peter. That came my year, like 2 years down the line when I wasn't running very well, and that's when Peter was like, "Okay, like, do you want me to coach you?" And I was like, yes, please. Like, I need someone to take this off my hands. So that's also one thing I probably didn't mention. This is all on my own kind of record. There wasn't anyone telling me to do this. So it was all, yeah, just, naivety. I don't know if that's the word, but you know what I mean? Like, I was very naive at that age, and I kind of thought I knew what I was doing, and I probably didn't. Well, I definitely didn't. And yeah, no, I guess Pete kind of, yeah, saved me a little bit when he started coaching me, back then.
Yeah, sweet. Moving on towards like NCAA, what was the recruitment process like? Did you get any help with it, or did you do it all alone?
Yeah, so this is honestly one of my like bigger regrets. I guess within running, not even like how I trained as a junior. It was actually more so I got to a point where I was running really well, and I wanted to head over straight away. Like out of high school, I was like, I want to go January. I don't know why. I think I just wanted something different. Obviously I'd run a lot of mileage, a lot of Ks, and I was almost kind of just looking for something different, something new. And I wanted that like straight away. So I did everything myself, which is also a big mistake. I wouldn't recommend it. And because I was good, but I wasn't great out of high school. I didn't have that much in terms of like offers available to me. But I did still have a few schools, and that's where I kind of ended up at UNO, University of New Orleans. I really liked the coach. New Orleans is a really cool city. And yeah, I was like, kind of got offered a full ride scholarship, and I was like, all right, well, you know, let's do this. Like, I'll snag this up. Like, this seems like a decent school. And yeah, that was a mistake. But yeah, so that's kind of how it went down. All I'd do is I just find emails of coaches, and I'd have like a drafted email, and I'll just flick it to as many coaches as I can, and you probably only get a reply from 1 in 5 coaches, and one of those replies would probably be, sorry, you're not quick enough for money, stuff like that. I actually got in contact with the UNO coach through Wake Forest. So Charlie Sprott had just committed to Wake Forest, and I sent them an email. It was like, same thing, bit naive. I was like, oh, I could get some money from Wake Forest. But obviously, yeah, it probably wasn't. Charlie had run sub 8 in high school. So yeah, I'd got the contact for the UNO coach. But looking back on it, I definitely would have waited. I would have waited at least until August, if not a whole year. Because what I've seen a lot of is people who wait, they run really, really well that year out of high school. Because then, once you're out of high school, like, you got so much more free time, more time for recovery. You're also, I feel like a lot of people, including myself, junior athletics doesn't matter. Junior athletics, the only person who's winning nationals is who matures first, is basically it, until you're about 16, 17. And I just, that at that time, it was all that, it meant so much to me, but I was behind everyone in development wise. And when I got over there, I was like 5'10", and now I'm like 6'2", kind of thing. So my thinking is, waiting that extra year, I could have run faster. I could have, used an agent to go to a better school. Yeah, college recruitment is definitely something you don't want to do by yourself, because you not end up like me, because I ended up running quite well at the school I was at. But yeah, no, you definitely want to have people in your corner, a big support network. You want people with connections, coaches, all that kind of stuff. Things that I just didn't have, unfortunately.
Just to understand what you're saying, do you regret it because you could have gone to a better school if you waited a bit longer, or yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah. So you've only got 5 years to use your
Yeah.
eligibility, and once you go over, you start your clock. And I went over when I was freshly 18, and I was racing against guys with COVID eligibility. I mean, at conference, I recently won the indoor conference 3000. The guy beats 28. So it's like,
Yeah.
I was 18, 19 over there, and it's like, yeah, where so I'm transferring. I'm sure we'll get to it later, but yeah, so I'm transferring to Lipscomb University in Nashville, and I have a friend from Brisbane, Max Hooper. He is the same age as me, but this will be his first semester coming up in August, because he did what I kind of said, where he just trained the house down, started running way quicker than he did in high school. Straight after, and now he's going to have way more eligibility than I have, which yeah, obviously is really, really good for him. And he had Jaden Russ, who is very experienced in the college recruiting side of things, and probably a slightly better support network around them. But yeah, no, so that, I definitely wish I kind of waited a little bit, but I don't regret it because I've had a blast over there. So
Yeah, for sure. I think the NCAA has been so hard to follow since COVID, just because like you rarely see true freshmen now. Like it's just there's freshmen that are like 24 or whatever, so it's
yeah,
pretty hard to follow. Yeah,
yeah, and it's really frustrating when you're over there as well. And then it's like, I had it last semester during the cross country season where one of the schools they had a 25-year-old Kenyan freshman, and he won freshman of the year. And it's like, is this guy like what's going on here? And it's definitely an issue that the NCAA still haven't really figured out yet. Because it's kind of hard to say like, look, you can't compete because you're too old, but that's kind of you can't really discriminate based on age, but it's obviously a super important factor in a sport like distance running where, you know, I feel like you almost have two different ages. You have, the age you actually are, and then your training age. So how many years you've been training for, kind of thing. And if you're older, you're gonna have a lot more training age as well.
yeah. All right. Well, moving on to some more fun stuff. You've had some great races at Brian Clay and also Boston University and a few other races as
Mm-hmm.
well. But yeah, talk about what you think aided to you PBing very well in the 3K and the 5K, and including the 1500 as well.
Yeah, so I guess for context, like the 1500 where I ran 3:47 this year, that was a 10-second PB. The 3K 8:17 in a race where I closed the last 1500 in 4:01. So like obviously I could have run a lot quicker, but that was still a 10-second PB. And then the 5K was a 33-second PB, which obviously once you kind of start dipping faster and faster, it's harder to have substantial PBs like that. I never thought I was going to have a big jump like that again. But yeah, honestly, the biggest thing for me was after my first semester where I went over and I didn't really perform much better at all. I was like, okay, well, I need to change something again. I'd done this system where I was doing a bit more intensity, slightly lower volume at the end of my high school career, and then also at the beginning of my college career. So then I was like, okay, well, who are the best runners in the world right now? Ingebrigtsens, Jakob, and there's a few other, I guess, programs in NCAA. You look at NAU, and they're all aerobic threshold orientated programs. And I was like, okay, well, let's try this. Why not? Nothing to lose kind of thing. So I kind of went from running about 110K a week. I bumped that up to about 140, 150-ish. This is during this time last year. So yeah, coming up from about a year of like this new system I've done where, yeah, I basically have just been doing a lot more aerobic orientated training. So a lot more threshold running, a lot more tempo running. And I guess from that, yeah, obviously we can get deeper into it, but there's a bunch of stuff that comes with that system. But yeah, I just try to develop the engine as much as I could. And I started having really, really good results in cross country where I was stronger than I ever had been before. And then I got to this track season kind of not really knowing what was going to happen. I'd actually bumped my mileage up again. So I went up to about like 160, 165 over Christmas, which was also very tough because it's very hot here in Brisbane. So that was a very yeah, character building kind of time. But yeah, coming back down back to the US, I kind of kept up the same kind of thing. I wasn't really doing much track workouts. I wasn't really touching anything faster than 10K pace in training. And yeah, I just had this massive just explosion in terms of performances. Things were coming to me a lot easier than they ever had before. And, even stuff like I'm if you ask anyone who raced me in high school, they'd be like, if you with Hanson with a lap to go, you've got him 9 out of 10 times. No questions. I just didn't have a kick. Like I thought that always stemmed from just not having speed, but it's actually strength. Like everything to do with running is going to be inhibited by your anaerobic threshold. It's very, very on very few occasions is it going to be inhibited by your mechanical speed or your maximal velocity, whatever. And once I realized that, and once I just dialed everything in to just etch that anaerobic threshold or as further forward as I can, that's when I started just absolute like 1500 upwards. I was starting to, really perform very well. And I tell you what, that 347 that I ran, I'd only done one session in the whole like 4 months of the track season that I even touched 1500 pace kind of thing. Does that mean I'd never touched any fast work? No, I guess with this system, I was doing a lot of threshold, so aerobic and anaerobic threshold, and I was also doing a lot of very high maximal speed work. So pretty much max hundreds, very fast 200s, even like flying 60s, stuff like that, where I was just working on that mechanical speed. And I guess when you kind of put that all together and you meet in the middle for those races where they're VO2 specific, so 3K, 5K, it just seemed to just mesh really well with my body, with how I responded super well to it, to the point now where I think my ceiling is still a lot higher. And if you had spoken to me in January, I would have said, okay, maybe in my career, if I run like 1420, 355 in the 1500, 30 flat in the 10K, I'd be happy. But now it's like, I think my ceiling's just gone so much higher because I've just built this massive base. And, this has been around since the 70s and 80s. Like, having the bigger the base you can, the bigger the peak. And we've known this, but for some reason, a lot of coaches just still love to hammer speed work, where I'm almost gonna go say on a limb that you don't need speed work. Like, you don't need to be hitting it very often, or a lot less than you think you do. Especially if you're racing a lot, your race is your speed work, and then everything else should just be aerobic.
Yeah, I agree. I think chances are if you are in the NCAA, like you will be able to run a 26-second 200 if you're just running one 200. So it's more about how fresh you are when it's 200 to go or 400 to go. That's what makes the difference. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm more of a, base slash tempo based athlete. Like I don't do that much speed as well. All my PBs have come from literally just easy runs plus strides and then maybe one tempo workout a week, which I'm
Yeah.
trying to increase to like two or even three or even four with double threshold sessions soon. Because I've been looking into it, and that's why I wanted to like pick your brains today as well. So actually, before we do talk about double threshold training, can you quickly set the tone and explain aerobic threshold, anaerobic threshold, and maybe even like the difference between tempo and threshold as well, just for the listeners?
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, before I say anything, disclaimer, like, I'm an exercise science student. Like, I'm still studying. What I'm saying isn't, I think it's factual, and what I've read, it kind of, it correlates, but I might muck up a few things. So people don't get on my case if I muck up one little thing. But I would say, so if you go into like I guess a 6 zone system, where zone 3 and zone 4 are going to be aerobic and anaerobic threshold. Aerobic threshold is basically if you use the onset blood lactate accumulation method of interpreting blood lactate, that's going to be at 2 millimoles, and that's when your body starts producing lactic acid. So that's when your body kind of crosses a threshold. That's actually your lactate threshold, where your body is now producing lactate. But between 2 and 4 millimoles, obviously that's going to be individual based on the person, but just for simple sakes, your body can use lactate effectively as almost like a fuel source. So lactate isn't just going to make your muscles burn. It actually is used as a fuel source. And within that kind of 2.0 to 4.0 millimole range, that's where if we train in that zone, we're going to reap a lot of benefits. But anyway, aerobic threshold is going to be reached at usually 2.0 millimoles, and that's going to be the pace you can hold for roughly 2 hours. So just faster than marathon pace. So a lot of people, that almost be like 30K pace for an elite runner, or not elite runner, but yeah, about 30K pace. Then anaerobic threshold, that's going to be what most people say when they say like, oh, I'm doing a lactate threshold run. That's going to be about 1 hour pace. So that's usually reached at 4 millimoles. And once you reach anaerobic threshold, that's when your body is now can't shuttle the lactate as effectively and use it as fuel. That's when it starts, making your legs fatigued, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like aerobic and anaerobic threshold. And I guess from that, obviously I do a lot of lactate testing, which allows me to, sit at a certain point, a certain blood lactate value that's individual to me, obviously. So for an example, like an LT1 session or like aerobic threshold, So yeah, that's also another thing. LT1 aerobic threshold, LT2 anaerobic threshold. If I'm doing an LT1 session, I want to sit below 2.5 millimoles. If I'm doing an LT2 session, I want to sit below 3.5 millimoles. But it's also been proven that you don't want to train exactly at 4.0 or 2.0. You kind of want to, yes, train slightly above aerobic threshold and slightly below anaerobic threshold. So it's kind of like a good middle ground that you're trying to just etch that value along slowly. And the best way to do that is through threshold intervals, because if you do a continuous effort, obviously your lactate is kind of going to act linearly. But if we do it as intervals, we're just allowing it to, we're allowing it to dip a bit before we go again. But that also means we can run faster at LT1 and LT2 if we do intervals. So yeah, I guess that's why as well you see the Ingebrigtsens. No one's doing like a 30-minute tempo anymore. Like that's kind of pretty old school. It's all about these threshold intervals.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that, yeah, like a 400-meter at threshold is obviously going to be faster than,
Yeah,
30 minutes of threshold. So, yeah, I
100%.
think that's a good point there. Yeah, and is it true that it's better to do like those slower LT1 sessions in the morning and then LT2 in the afternoon? Is that what you do as well, or?
Yeah, I would say that's the best way to do it. An LT1 session is really cruisy. Like especially I do usually like miles to 1.5 miles. So that's usually like, 1.6K to 2.5K. And, as I've just talked, I've run 14:10 for a 5K, and I do that session at, 3:25 pace kind of thing, 3:20. I might creep it down to 3:20 based on if I test really low. But yeah, so that session is quite easy. So it doesn't actually take much out of you. And even the LT2 session, to be honest, like same thing. Like people train a lot harder than they think they need to. So yeah, I always do LT1 in the morning. But the good thing about the model as well is you can change things to suit your lifestyle. You can change it to suit your obviously, some people do need to touch on anaerobic stuff a bit more, and that's where you can kind of fiddle around with the system a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely individual. I guess some people don't have that raw natural speed, and I guess they need a bit more of it, I guess. But yeah, the individuality as well is a good point because if you don't do morning and then afternoon sessions, you could actually just do an afternoon session, sleep, and then do the next session in the morning as well. Like there's a lot of
That's what,
ways to vary it. Yeah.
and I've done that quite a few times. It's just worked better with, if I'm an exam or like something, lifestyle wise, where it's easier for me to do that. So I've done, yeah, like an afternoon session and then a morning session, and it still kind of acts as a double T. And if anything, I was kind of trialing that for a bit just to see if that actually, like, not responded better, but I felt better in the sessions, because obviously instead of having a whole day where, you could be doing stuff, going to class, shopping, whatever, compared to like you just sleeping like between sessions. And the sessions I find as well, just being a lot easier. It kind of makes running more enjoyable. It's a very enjoyable session when you're just doing, 1Ks at like pretty much, for me, it's like 3:06 pace, which I could probably hold for an hour, like kind of thing. It does feel like the sessions are a lot more enjoyable, and you don't have to work as hard, which I know sounds like, oh, you want to work hard and just smash yourself. But once you start seeing the gains you'll get from the system, you're like, okay, well, I don't have to flog myself and I can get better at running. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's probably better from like a longevity standpoint as well. Like you're not going to be able to do speed sessions every single week for the rest of your life, but if you kind of
100%.
tone down the intensity just a little bit, you're actually just working smarter at the end of the day.
Smarter, not harder. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I should definitely try it out. Like I haven't done enough experiments with the double threshold training. I've done it a couple times, but I feel like you only reap the benefits when you layer like multiple weeks in a row rather than doing like one double session week and then not
And
doing it the next week.
it's obviously like a lot of volume as well. So I've gotten to the point now where like those double threshold days, they're like 32K training days. So it's like that's obviously quite a lot of running in a day. And no matter even if the intensity is quite low, it's still a lot of load. And you don't feel great the next day. It's still like,
Yeah,
it's if you did a 32K long run, like, it's gonna take you a few days to recover, kind of thing.
yeah, for sure. And you know how like Well, obviously we're not working super duper hard, but like if you do racing stuff, your DOMs, it takes like a day or two to set in, right? So is the whole idea of
Hmm.
double threshold training that you cram the intensity in so that, yeah, so that you can recover
Yeah.
more in the other times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in theory, like we should be able to run, especially aerobic threshold, or like sit between 2 and 4 minimals, like for a very long time. Like we should be able to. If it's something I actually was wanting to try, where you only do double threshold running, and then the rest of your week you just do like cross train threshold. So you just sit at threshold on the elliptical or the bike or something like that. But the biggest inhibitor to that it was muscular tone. So that's going to be, yeah, obviously just DOMs, fatigue, your muscles getting sore. So even now it's like aerobically on the days after I'm fine because I didn't actually work that hard, but I'm still quite sore muscle wise, which, yeah, exactly. Like you still will get DOMs, but definitely not as pronounced as they would be from a harder intensity effort.
Well, can you tell the listeners more of what a week might look like right now in terms of where you would fit the sessions in and then when the long run is as well?
Yeah. So I guess like play by play, like Monday to Sunday. Monday easy with light speed work. So that's either for me like short hill strides, quite hard, so like pretty maximal of a walk down, so quite a bit of recovery still. Also if I'm in track season, I'll go to the track and just do some, fast hundreds, spiked up, fast 150s, that kind of stuff. Tuesday, that's going to be my first double threshold day. So um the morning I'll do, yeah, 5 to 6 by a mile off 60 seconds at LT1. So that's below 2.5 millimoles. And then the afternoon, 10 by 1K at LT2 of 60 seconds recovery. And yeah, that's below 3.5 millimoles. Wednesday, recovery. So just jogging. Thursday, that's going to be the second double threshold for the week. So morning, I usually do 4 by 8 minutes of 60 seconds recovery, LT1 below 2.5 millimoles. Afternoon, that's when I do the threshold 400s, which I am still trying to figure that session out. I've done it quite a few times, but sometimes I just get carried away, which I still have my tendencies to want to work hard. That session is definitely a lot harder to keep the effort in check because obviously I'm not on the treadmill for that one either. But yeah, Friday, same as Monday. So some strides, light speed, that kind of stuff. Saturday is what they call the X Factor. The X Factor is interesting because the Inga Britons, like their model, oh, I guess the Norwegian model, they do 200-meter hills, which I've done a few times now. I honestly think you can also change that X Factor workout for a more traditional track workout or a specific workout for whatever race you have coming up. So I'm doing Launceston in a few weeks. So my X Factor workout might be a bit more of like a 10K specific workout kind of thing. And the thing with this model is because you get so much volume and a very high aerobic stimulus from these threshold sessions, I only long run 20K now. So even though I'm above 160K a week, I'm only through long running about 20-ish K. And that's obviously the long runs, what's gonna be slightly controversial. I don't think for anyone running track, the long run's that important if you do a lot of threshold running. I think the long run is going to cause the most fatigue out of any of the sessions. Doing a very anything longer than 90 minutes, I feel like is getting to a point where, yeah, especially if you're not fueling in that workout in that long run, obviously, yeah, it's gonna take a little while to recover, a lot longer than these other sessions. And if you're already touching on a lot of the highest quality aerobic stimulus you can, which is from that threshold running, the long run, the benefits kind of dissipate a little bit. But saying that, if you're doing anything over a 10K or even training just specifically for a 10K, that's obviously has to change. So yeah, no, that's kind of like a play by play of what I've been doing kind of last few months.
Yeah, for sure. Because I guess because you are a 3 and 5K guy right now, let's say. But if someone is training for a 10K, you could probably just do one double threshold day and then keep the long run a bit longer and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
like you said, it is pretty individual. Yeah.
yeah, because like at the end of the day, like I was for majority of the season, I was doing just one double threshold, and because I was racing Friday or Saturday, and I would still kind of do like a 25K long run during the season. But like when I was reflecting on the season, that's the one thing I thought I was like every single time I did a long run, I felt cooked the next day. Like I just didn't feel good because I'd race or like have that session on Saturday and then I would yeah, just I'll just be grinding through it where 20K, like I feel like once you get to a certain point where you're aerobically strong enough, like 20K, it's like, all right, well, I can front to 20K no matter how I'm kind of feeling, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think I watched the video on Total Running Productions, and I'm pretty sure Jakob Ingebrigtsen does pretty short long runs as well. I don't think he goes too far in his.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard recently he barely goes over like 70 minutes.
really. Yeah, wow.
So like yeah, like that's kind of that also once I had the experience of kind of going slightly longer with the system, and then I was like, okay, well, that's been affecting my threshold sessions, and like I think he's in the same like he's probably thinking like his coach probably thinking the same thing. It's like, all right, well, we just want to specify this threshold session as much as we can. We want to be as ready for this threshold session as we can, and if the long run's going to be taking away from that, the threshold session's more important than the long run.
And the other thing I wanted to touch on in this episode, and yeah, thanks for running us through the LT1, LT2, and all that sort of stuff, because that was very interesting and informative. But I want to talk about nutrition as well, because I know you're quite a
Mm-hmm.
big fan of how you feel and also supplements that help with running. And I know you talked about this in one of your YouTube videos. I think it was the AIS Australian Framework for Nutritional or
Yeah.
Supplementation, I guess. I know like marathoners and stuff, they love their beetroot juice and whatever because of the
Yep.
nitrogen or whatever. I forgot. We can
Nitric
explain that
oxide.
later. Nitric
Yeah.
oxide, okay. But I also want you to talk about, is it bicarb that 1500 guys use? Because I know nothing about that and what it does either. I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I guess like what I take for me, there's some non-negotiable supplements that if you are really serious about running and you want to make sure that you recover the best you can, and also just there's stuff that's not banned and you can take it and it's safe. It's been proven to be safe, and those are going to be beta alanine and creatine. So creatine is an interesting one because most people are like, well, only bodybuilders take that. Well, it's actually been proven to help from aerobic threshold onwards now. So I guess obviously like more zone one, zone two, easy stuff, it won't affect. And maybe if you're doing more half marathons, you won't get as much benefit from it. But creatine for runners is something I don't see a lot of people taking, and I think it's almost a non-negotiable with how proven it is. Same with beta alanine. They're both kind of two supplements that I think everyone should be taking for performance in terms of just general well-being. Zinc, magnesium, huge. They're going to help with sleep. Going to help with immune system stuff. Ashwagandha as well. That kind of links in. That helps. Okay, some people think it helps improve testosterone. Even if that is BS, it is proven to help with sleep. So I think sleep is super important. And if I can take a supplement that makes me sleep better or sleep more effectively, then for sure. This is kind of I've gatekeep this supplement quite a bit, but ZMA, zinc, magnesium, aspartame, it's what all the big programs in the States take. So I'm talking like NAUs, BYUs, like all these big programs, they all take ZMA. If you're very interested, look at the background of it. It's quite interesting. The creator of the supplement, they did a lot of anabolic steroids. It isn't an anabolic steroid, but it is yeah, they kind of created it. But yeah, and I guess getting into the other two, these ones are obviously not non-negotiables, but bicarb, sodium bicarbonate, and I guess nitric oxide. So sodium bicarbonate has been known to help buffer lactate since like the 70s and 80s. So cyclists used to just scoop, it's bicarb soda, baking supplement, you know what I mean? Using baking. They used to just dry scoop it. But the
Really?
problem with the problem with taking it like that is it makes you need to poo yourself. It's yeah, it definitely yeah, caused a lot of upset stomachs. But I guess they were like, well, if it helps performance, we'll do it kind of thing. A lot of sprinters used to do it as well. So I guess what Morden did is they made a bicarb system which will help mitigate any of those kind of side effects that taking sodium bicarbonate has had in the past. saying that it's $70, 70 US dollars for 4 servings, which is ridiculous. I never bought it. What you can do is just get a Morton gel, put it in a bowl, and just buy capsules of sodium bicarbonate, and it's the same thing. So sodium bicarbonate, you need to take 0.3 to 0.5 grams per kilogram. So it's quite a lot. But yeah, mate, honestly, I've taken it for pretty much all the races I PB'd in, and it's definitely even if you don't notice it, it's almost even mentally. The mental side is as huge as the physical side, but it has been proven to help. Nitric oxide, obviously, beetroot juice is a very effective way of getting it. So beetroot juice has got L-arginine and L-citrulline. So L-citrulline you can supplement orally as well. So I have a few supplements that I can just take L-citrulline. A lot of pre-workouts have L-citrulline. So nitric oxide, when you get like a pump in the gym and you've taken a pre-workout, it's most likely from the L-citrulline in the supplement. So it basically just helps the blood flow more effectively. L-arginine, yeah, no, touchy subject, but it's only effective when you inject it, which I don't inject it, but you can probably connect the dots to where I'm getting at here.
Mm.
There's been some sketchy stuff going on previously. But yeah, no, that's kind of the way you can do it. So you can either take L-citrulline in like a pre-workout supplement, or you can take it in like a beetroot juice. Even something like dark chocolate has quite a lot of nitric oxide in it. So yeah, no, that's kind of like a rundown of supplements. And yeah, I guess other nutrition wise, yeah, obviously just not being underfueled is important, but you know, that's pretty well known.
Yeah, actually, I do have a question though, because I asked a couple people recently, and I'm wondering how important it is to like eat within 30 minutes of finishing like a workout and stuff. Do you think that's important or?
It's not. You just need to have something substantial within 2 hours. I
Okay.
think yeah, it's kind of been disproven that like anabolic window. I still have like teammates who are like really on with it, like they'll bring protein, bars or drinks to workouts and stuff. But from what I've read, and like what I've done like research wise, I think more recent like research has come out that's kind of disproven it. One thing I will add is I think fueling in sessions is really important. And I feel like a lot of people underutilize the fueling in a workout. Even if like you even for pretty much all my workouts, I'll fuel during the workout as well. So whether I've got like a drink mix I'm sipping on, whether I have, a sip of a gel or something, throughout the workout, it doesn't just the biggest thing for me is recovery. If you're fueling and making sure that you aren't kind of dipping too far into the well, I guess in terms of like glycogen stores, all that kind of stuff, then you can recover a lot better. You also feel better during the session. It will increase your lactate, but I think you know, the benefits outweigh the negatives on that aspect. Especially when you're running more intensely, you're gonna burn more energy. So even if you aren't doing it for that long, it's still really important just to, you know, make sure you're well fueled during the session and before, obviously.
And by fueling, we're mainly talking about carbs, right? And a bit of electrolytes as well, or?
Yeah, so obviously electrolytes, if you're in a sauna like Brisbane or New Orleans, like super important. But yeah, mostly carbs. As well, like, if you're doing a really like hard, long session, say one of your X Factor workouts, if you like I've done it before where I've put a bit of pre-workout in with a carb mix and stuff like that, where, so you're getting a bit of a little bit more, I guess, of a pump up as well. Caffeine's a big performance enhancer as well.
Yeah, thanks for that as well. The nutrition. That's pretty interesting to hear everything. Like you clearly look into the research quite a lot, which is why I think I see you as like a reliable source. I've seen plenty of what you do on YouTube and stuff, and yeah, there's a lot of like proper scientific research and background behind what you recommend and everything, which I expect, especially at your age. It's like it's so easy to just pretend like you're an expert and just, talk about random crap that doesn't work. But yeah, I think you do a
Yeah.
lot of looking into it.
Yeah, like I definitely try, but yeah, as I kind of touched on before, like I am still only a student. I am wanting to like I'm doing exercise science, and this is definitely something that I can see myself doing like post college as well, like getting into coaching a bit more, and even like the exercise science stuff, like what like Central Labs and Kristen Blumenfeld and all those kind of guys are doing. Even more recently with like OAC Europe, not the US, like OAC Europe are really dialing in like all this kind of stuff as well, which yeah, I mean, I think there's been a big reason why this kind of African dominance is kind of subduing a little bit, especially in the middle distance events, and it's because we've just advanced so much scientifically. Where it used to be running wasn't as like everyone was like, oh, it's not a scientifically based sport, you don't know, but like we do now, and it's I guess for me that's where I don't think I have the most natural talent in the world. I think I can, get up on people by, doing all this supplement stuff, doing all the other 1%ers. Even like I see like an exercise physiologist who will write me a gym program and individualize it based on, I don't have enough thoracic rotation. So he gives me a lot of rotation exercise, like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Actually, when do you fit your gym sessions in? Because I sometimes struggle to fit it in, and I'm not even running as much as you. Like at my peak,
Yeah.
I'd run 110 Ks, and I still struggle to fit it in somewhere.
Oh man, it is hard. Like I will admit that's probably the one thing that I really need to improve on. And busy lives, and at the end of the day, I think as long as you're getting one session in a week and you kind of make sure it's quality, then that's fine. Obviously two would be ideal, but I usually do Wednesday gym. So I did gym this morning, which usually works okay. You are going to be a little bit tired, and then I'll either do Friday or Sunday because my long runs aren't as long. I feel like I can still fit gym on Sunday pretty all right.
Yeah, sweet. And when on Wednesday do you do the gym, and do you feel like like the fatigue ever rolls on to the next day where you have a double threshold?
Yeah, so gym is something that unfortunately, if you haven't been doing much of it and you want to get back into it, you are gonna have quite you're gonna be quite sore the next few days. But I've been lifting ever since I've really started running, and even before that, where yeah, I don't really notice the gym too much. I guess in the following days, but yeah, I think that for me as well. Like I am very dialed in with as we just mentioned, like the supplements, nutrition stuff, and I feel like gym is one of those things that will, if you do all that stuff correctly, it should hopefully not affect you too much.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it is interesting because I do quite long distance. I did a 100K run and I actually didn't get sore muscularly at all. Like I was not sore at all. And I carried on training the week after that as well, like from 2 days after that. So I think maybe even with gymming, if I do it enough, I'll probably get used to it a bit more and not get as sore. Because I feel like I only recently started and it definitely is rolling on.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And yeah, it's definitely like my gym like kind of changes as well throughout like the seasons and stuff. So right now it's pretty easy, but it's all kind of just like muscular endurance stuff. But like during the season when I have to like go in and lift pretty heavy, that's kind of like I'm like, oh man, like I don't feel good. But
Yeah.
I sometimes like I actually feel better after the gym. Like it almost feels like I've activated everything. Very in depthly. So yeah, no, hopefully you just got to get over that first kind of stepping stone, I feel, and then
Yeah.
hopefully you'll be all sweet.
Mm. All right, so moving on back to college talk.
Yeah.
You have been at UNO for, is it one whole year? And then now you're back in
Uh,
Brisbane?
I've been there for I was there for 18 months. So yeah,
Okay,
three
yeah,
semesters.
cool. And then you're back in Brisbane now. Talk us through, first of all, why you're back and what the transition from UNO to, where are you now again? Sorry, the new
L-
college?
L-
Lip
Lipscomb
Lipscomb.
University.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that transfer occur? Talk about that.
Yeah. So I guess there's in the US college system, NCAA, there's something called the transfer portal. It's pretty nifty. It's almost like the easiest way to look at it is like think of an college sport as like professional sport where players can transfer out, transfer in, all that kind of stuff. It's almost like there's a transfer market, there's free agents, that kind of stuff. So I basically went on the transfer portal and I was like a free agent. So I went on the transfer portal after the indoor track season. So I went on the portal early March. And basically, what the portal allows you to do is just talk to other college coaches. You can, you have a lot more freedom, I guess, to get recruited, that kind of stuff. And I guess I went on the portal on the basis of a few things. One of them being I had a bit of a rough trot about at my school. I had a lot of things that kind of happened that shouldn't happen at an institution, especially for an international where I'm so far away from home that even like minor inconveniences or minor, I guess, issues can have a bit more of a toll just because I was 18 and I'm over there dealing with everything by myself. I'm living by myself, 10,000 16,000 K away from home. So yeah, I was pretty keen to look at a new opportunity. So yeah, I went on the transfer portal and it's pretty awesome to be honest. Especially because I just had that massive breakthrough and it was all kind of still sinking in. And I was getting these schools that wouldn't even give me the night of day when I was at a high school, emailing me, calling me, like, yeah. So it ended up coming down to a few options. I've actually got them right here. So my last kind of options were obviously Lipscomb, Tulsa, Drake, where Foggy went, which would have been awesome. Obviously, Adams State and Wingate, which are both one of the two best D2 schools in the country. But honestly, like Lipscomb is a bloody nice school, super nice private school. They had a really good program. Their coach headed the sports science department at USATF, which obviously is something I was looking at. Being that I kind of have taken the scientific approach, I would have found it pretty hard to go back to kind of training in a more, not old school, but in a more traditional manner. And Nashville, Tennessee, would recommend. Very, very nice city. One of the cleanest cities I've been to in the US. Absolutely loved it. Weather's perfect year round, and yeah, I guess the really cool thing about being on the transfer portal as well is I got to go on official visits. So they would pay me to come out and pay for my flights, accommodation, food, like all that kind of stuff to check out the school and kind of just try and sell it to me. And yeah, they wowed me on my visit. So yeah, I was like, all right, well, this is where I think I want to be for the next 3 years. And it worked out really well that my friend Max Hooper, who I've been racing against since I was 13, 14, he's also coming over with me. I touched on it before, so yeah, it'll be two Brizzy blokes in Nashville, Tennessee. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good. And you're gonna head back to the US for cross season, right? And when does that start?
Yeah, yeah, so yeah, I forgot to touch. I'm home over the summer break, so this is like their, I guess, big uni and high school break. So I'm home till mid-August, and yeah, they'll be going back for the cross country season. Where yeah, obviously Liv's gonna be a bit of a bigger school. Like we're on the borderline of making nationals, which would obviously be awesome to go from kind of a really small school to going to the national championships. So yeah, no.
How's it been like being back in Brisbane?
Yeah, it's honestly been a bit of a relief. Like it's hard to, I mean, we haven't really spoken about like the mental side of sport, but like it was a really tricky period for me. I guess like once I went in the transfer portal, you get fully cut off from the school. So I no longer had access to any of the facilities. I couldn't see the trainer. Obviously, I didn't have a coach anymore either. All those races I did for the outdoor season are also self-funded. So I have no savings anymore, unfortunately. But it was worth it because I ran fast. But yeah, no, it was a lot. And like as I mentioned, like I'm over there by myself. And although like, you know, you have support back home, it's just, it feels so far away. And yeah, it was definitely a relief coming home and having, knowing that I won't be going back there to this kind of situation, which was unpleasant, is a very good feeling. It's yeah, definitely a lot of weight off the shoulders and super exciting kind of time over the next few weeks because I got given free reign to race at Launceston, so that would be awesome. So I'm doing the 10K there. So yeah, training the house down at the moment, try and get myself in shape for that.
Yeah, I was taking a peek at your World Athletics profile before this, and I think your PB must have been in the 32 still. So I think you're in for a pretty good time. Except I
Yeah,
know you raced in the US recently, right? You did a 10K there. Was that not
yeah.
officially
So
10K or? Yeah.
the Crescent City Classic, it's basically like it's the biggest road 10K. It was at one point in the US. They have like 20,000 people who do it. they usually have an elite field where, I mean, the record for the race is 27:10.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very quick race historically, but since COVID, they haven't been able to bring an elite field in, and so it gave an opportunity for myself to snag the win and get my name on a winners list with like Jake Robinson, Carlos Lopez, like all like a bunch of like Olympic medalists, stuff like that. So that was really fun. I ran 30-30 there, but I was in the middle of a 100-mile week, so I was kind of tired, but
Right, yeah.
yeah, no. So I've run 30-30 solo. So hopefully my goal is to try and get under 29:40 at Launceston.
Nice, yeah. I think that's definitely possible if you were in the middle of a 100-mile week. So, yeah, with
Yeah,
a
fingers
tiny
crossed.
bit of taper, yeah, that'd be cool. And right now, in regards to like your YouTube and social media, I know you told me in the past that you're more of a short form content guy now, but yeah,
Yeah.
explain where you're at in terms of that right now.
Yeah, so like I guess when I was home over the Christmas break, I started making like Instagram reels. I I don't know why. I kind of just I'd seen a bit of it, and I feel like Instagram's algorithm allows a bit more like of that nerdier running content to get pushed. I'd post stuff on TikTok and YouTube, and I wasn't getting I was getting a lot of engagement, but I wasn't getting many like I guess in total volume of like views and stuff. But as soon as I went to Instagram Reels, I had a few kind of blow up instantly, and obviously that's quite motivating. And I'm at a point now where I'm kind of gaining like anywhere from like 30 to 60 followers a day. And I've kind of, yeah, I'm getting up there in terms of, yeah, it's definitely been really awesome kind of seeing that side of things as well, grow pretty substantially. I've gone from like 2,500 followers to almost 6,000 in kind of like 3 months. So that's probably like my side hustle at the moment. I had a this is actually kind of funny. So I had an email from Instagram saying like, "Oh, do you want to call with one of our Instagram professionals?" And I was like, "I mean, not really, but I had a feeling that if I did it, they'll push my content out more." So I did this call with this random lady, and she was like, "You need to post 3 days a week, and you have to post at the exact same time." So I've just been doing that, and yeah, it's been blowing up again. So thank you, Instagram lady, for pushing my content out more. But yeah, the YouTube I also make YouTube videos because I enjoy making the videos more on YouTube. I like vlogging more, but unfortunately, just the way content is nowadays, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to produce and also I guess push out that Instagram reel content.
Yeah, I think my YouTube's really stagnating. Like there was a really weird phase where I think all of us, like you, me, and Adam Fogg, like we're growing pretty
Yeah,
rapidly. But I think like Adam Fogg's the only guy that's growing now. And I've like
yeah.
plateaued a little. Yeah.
I
Mm.
had I had one video that I posted I think for last year where it was like how I went from a 21-minute 5K to a 14-minute 5K. I think I got like 80K on that, but since then like I get like 1,500 to 2,000 views on a video, but when obviously, that's still quite good, but on my Instagram Reels I haven't had one that's gotten less than like 15K. So it's like I don't know, I guess priority wise I'm like I'm just going to keep on pushing that out more. It also helps with like it's pretty easy to find that like I'm doing like coaching stuff on the side, and so that's also been the Instagram stuff's kind of pushed my coaching a bit more as well. So yeah, no, it's yeah, more Instagram content to come for sure.
Yeah. Cool. And I guess to wrap up, I know yeah, like you touched on coaching there, but I know you coach one of the guys that I know called Rowan. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so cool. He's pretty good at networking. Like he knows how to approach fast runners, and yeah, he's just good at it. He runs with Ed Goddard sometimes like Gore Hill and Sydney, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you coach him, right? So how talk a bit about him.
Yeah, no, like so I've known him for quite a few years now. So I think he loved myself and Foggy. Like he was a big fan. So he was kind of one of those like really early like Corona Diaries esque kind of I guess fans. But that him being a fan so came like a friendship, like where I was talking to him quite a bit, and he asked me to coach him. And I was like, I hadn't really done much coaching at the time. And I think he was just kind of going through a rough period with the sport where he wasn't improving, and I'm sure everyone's had that kind of stagnation before, and it's a really tough spot to be in because as much as you say it doesn't, like running, if you run bad, it affects all aspects of life. I've definitely had that as well. So yeah, he asked me to coach him, and at that time I was kind of transitioning into this like new system I had. So I was like, well, you know, I guess he didn't know this at the time, but I was like, I'm just going to experiment a little bit on him, see how he responds.
It has been
And
working though. He's been running well
yeah,
recently. Yeah.
yeah. So he
Yeah.
went from like when I got him, he was really out of shape when I got him. This is like this time last year, and I think he time trialed like a 17:10, 17:25K, and then he ran 15:33. Um, and qualified for his first nationals, which was awesome. And yeah, he ran really fast in the 1500, which was funny. If you saw the training we were doing, and it was like all very aerobic because my thing with him was, we'll keep him at 60, 70K a week, but we're not gonna be doing these like super hard anaerobic sessions that he was doing. We're just gonna go more to like a threshold oriented approach. No double threshold, no anything like that. It kind of just shows how even if you aren't doing double threshold, you can still apply it to pretty much anyone and they will see a massive growth. And his ceiling now, where it's like, this cross country season is going to be super interesting because we kind of got through a year of really conservative training. He's 17 now. He wants to go to college. And it's like, okay, well, if you want to go to college, like let's try and ramp things up just a smidge. Like let's go to 80, 90K a week and let's push the volume of these threshold sessions out. So yeah, no, he's a great kid to work with, listens a lot. Yeah, he's pretty much everything I've said today, he would in terms of supplements, gym, like all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like a copy and like I'll give that to him as well. And yeah, he's been responding really well.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, I forgot when it was, but I was at one of the tracks at Sydney, and he came up to me as well one day, and I literally thought he was your brother as well, because like you guys almost look the same, and he was wearing a Burt singlet, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, you must be Matt Hanso's brother. Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's such a good lad, and that's actually
yeah,
reminded me. I need to send him some more kit. Yeah, I said I'd send him a bunch more, so yeah, no, I have to get on that. But yeah, no, so if anyone wants coaching that's listening, I'm cheap. I won't charge you much.
yeah. Well, yeah, I guess plug your handles to finish off. But yeah, I guess thank you so much for coming on.
No, of course. Thank you so much for letting me have a yap about yeah, obviously stuff I really care about. But yeah, Matt Hanso on Instagram, YouTube. My coaching is conveniently called Infinite Threshold Coaching. I'm probably getting to the point where I only can really bring on probably like one or two more people. But yeah, saying that $80 Australian a month. So compared to a lot of the other ones, it's quite cheap. But you also have to remember I'm 19 and I'm a bit sporadic. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. But I'm sure I'll do all right.
Awesome. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you in person one day because, yeah,
Yeah.
we've done a podcast now, but it'll be cool to meet up and make a video together or something.
Oh man,
Yeah.
and your content's awesome. So yeah, keep up all that stuff as well. Definitely a lot more high quality than my stuff, but it's awesome seeing what you've produced over the last kind of few years. It's been awesome for the sport. So yeah.
Cheers, man.